My name is Karsten Hendrickson. I am the Aerodynamics Body and Composite System Lead for WashU Racing, in charge of designing the 2020 Cars Aerodynamics Package, and this is my final project report for Optimization 5001. The goal of my project was to optimize the design of an end plate by creating a footplate. The footplate limits the amount of air that can be sucked under the wing, increasing downforce and limiting drag. Because of the computational resources that were required to perform viscous CFD, I needed an efficient way to find an optimum design. I decided to use a response surface to approximate the lift coefficient across the design space. In order to perform the CFD analysis, I used the commercial solver ANSYS Fluent. The Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equations were solved using the K omega SST turbulence model. The fluid domain extended 5 meters downstream of the trailing edge. The ground clearance was 45 millimeters, and the remaining sides were extended 1.5 meters from the wing except for the symmetry plane. Based on previous analysis performed on the wing, a grid of roughly 2 million cells was generated. The results of the chosen design points were used to generate a response surface. A genetic algorithm was then used to find the maximum downforce on the response surface. This candidate point was then analyzed and used to regenerate a more accurate response surface. A total of 4 design variables were used. They were the width of the footplate and the channel height at the leading edge, middle, and trailing edge of the channel. Because of how the geometry was created, the heights of the channel were calculated using the angle from the outermost edge and a plane perpendicular to the ground. Ultimately, a total of 53 design and candidate points were analyzed. Here's an image of the fluid domain as described in the previous slide. This is a close-up of the mesh. The mesh was made of a hybrid of polyhedral unstructured elements close to the geometry and structured cut-cell elements away from the geometry. The top 5 points are shown compared to the flat end plate without a footplate. As you can see, the addition of a footplate with a width of around 35 to 45 millimeters resulted in an increase of lift of as much as 11% with a small decrease in drag. The pressure contour of the underside of the airfoil shows a noticeable decrease in pressure on the underside of the flap for the wing with a footplate, as well as a slight decrease in pressure for the main element. This is further demonstrated on the cross-section contours of pressure here at 500 millimeters from the center line, and here at 650 millimeters from the center line. The velocity cut planes show a much smaller vortex is generated by the footplate compared to the flat end plate. At the trailing edge of the main element, a strong developed vortex is present on the underside of the wing without a footplate. While there is still rotation on the wing with the footplate, there is no focused vortex. The velocity contour at the trailing edge of the flap shows the vortex in the end plate with the flat wing has already begun to break up, disturbing the airflow around the underside of the flap. The vortex has developed inside the channel and spilled under the wing, however, its center is farther from the wing and it therefore has much less effect on the flow around the wing. As you move farther back from the wing, the footplate vortex is more compact than the flat wing vortex. This continues further back as the footplate vortex dissipates faster. Isosurfaces of Q criterion, which measures rotational strength, also show a limited spill under the end plates. The flat end plate sees the vortex spill under the wing around the center of the main element, while the footplate delays this spilling until the start of the flap. In conclusion, a response surface method was used to optimize the geometry of a footplate for the front wing of an FSA race car. The resulting geometry increased downforce by 11% while slightly decreasing drag. The surface pressure on the underside of the wing with the footplate was considerably lower as it prevented the vortex from spilling under the end plate and disturbing the airflow around the wing.